Well, I'd like to make a response to my last video on how milsurplus firearms prices are dropping. Okay, and I went through all the many comments and listened to your comments and that. And part of it is a misunderstanding in the way I represented it. Sometimes I forget most people don't have the mindset that I do. And trying to give a detailed explanation of it, most people won't watch the video because from what I've seen from a lot of the comments, a lot of you guys go and wish to buy a milsurplus gun from one of the dealers or many of the websites that when they come in, be it whatever, and you mentioned them all. I can't do that on YouTube, they take the video down. But most of the places that do sell milsurplus guns, online, and I've done business with all of them and purchased things from them. The days of getting firearms, especially rifles of any type, are probably gone. Most modern militaries use some sort of selective fire weapon, and they have since about the 1960s into the 70s. Everybody's adopted something like that, which you're not going to find other than a parts kit. And I kind of have one of them showing up, so there'll be a video about parts kits and that type of line of recreating a legal copy of a milsurplus weapon. Okay. But if you're thinking you're going to be buying old Mausers, old Spanish guns, and this and that, I believe those days are long gone. The vast majority of what you are finding coming in on the surplus market, be it law enforcement or military, see a lot of foreign countries, the law enforcement uses the same firearm the military does. Okay, so you will find military-like guns coming in, which are really law enforcement surplus. The CZ-82 is one of them. That was issued to the Czech Army and was also used by all the law enforcement, or just about all of them. A large amount of those guns coming in are probably law enforcement firearms. So the days of just going out and buying the stuff when it comes in directly, getting a set price, paying the price, and that's what you guys are looking at and how you like to buy it. Those days are kind of gone. Was in the secondary market, where a lot of these things are found, be it in gun shops, pawn shops, auctions. And another thing, when I say auction, just about everybody says the gun broker. The gun broker, and by the way, I had my video explaining how to use the gun broker to kind of get an idea of prices and to buy. It was taken down by YouTube, which that was a pretty insightful video I made, but it violated something and they removed it. The gun broker, that is, I bought things off there and I found things on the gun broker. Sometimes you make out, very rarely, and sometimes you get an idea what the going price is. It's easy to find an item, but you are going to pay a price. Okay, I'll give you an example. Alright, this finish, I think it's I can't remember the exact date, 39 or whatever it is. It's the last one's made. This gun is in mint condition. Okay. Going rate for these, alright, was 7 C notes to a K. Alright. And what it is you can find about 5 of them on there. And what happens is you kind of wait it out, and it was from, I believe, a private seller or somebody or whatever. It got down to around 6 C notes and that. And, you know, they're going to charge you anywhere from $50 to $60 in shipping, and that is realistic. That's not overinflated. And if you use a card or something, you may have to pay another $3 for using a card. But it all come out to where it was probably a little over $7, and that's about the going rate at the full end of it. As far as I'm concerned, you will find these prices much higher. But the thing is, I wanted it, and to save time in that, you know, you can search around. Where the deal comes is, if you don't want to pay that, if you put the time and effort in of going through auctions and screwing around and everything, you can knock the price down, and that's what I'm talking about. Because an item like this is set in a certain range of value, okay, and everybody on the gun broker knows that, or if somebody's got a hold, there's some dealers or whatever you want to call them that'll have several of these guns, different models, variations. They might have bought in a collection or accumulation, they're trying to sell them. And they're pretty, you know, their prices stay where they are, and they're not going to change. They're not going to lower them, okay. Then again, see, that depends on the seller. This seller had this gun priced higher, and I watched it for him, and he lowered it because he wanted to move it. And that's where it went from, I think, 8 all the way down to 6. Okay? So, that's what I'm talking about. That's what I'm saying, that, and depending who you do business with, the prices are coming down. Are you going to find them? Are they going to jump up at you? And that? No. You're going to have to kind of work with it. Another thing people do on the gun broker, especially with used firearms, is when they have it high, the last day or so, they'll knock one item I bought. They knocked 4, almost 5 C. I think it was 5 C. Off the price of the gun in the last 24 hours. Because it was kind of ridiculously high, and I was looking at it for a month or so, and then they just got to where they said, okay, we'll knock 5 C off and move this. Okay, and I kind of got it at half a K discount for what they're asking. And it wasn't an unusual gun that you're not going to find. You can search the internet for it, you're not going to find them. Okay. This is what I'm talking about. If you go around, beat the bush, and you're going to have to spend a lot of time looking, and it could be luck. It is, sometimes it's just dumb luck. You don't know. Alright, so when it comes to auctions, and I'm not talking much about the gun broker. The gun broker has its own way of doing it. If you go to like live auction, proxy bid or whatever, and say you file, go in there, open an account, and then search, do a general search for a certain firearm you want. Be it something like this little PPK or something. Every time an auction comes up, out of all the hundreds and hundreds of auctions that are advertised on there, they'll send you an email notice and say, hey, this, what you're looking for is in this auction. And you can go in there, watch, you know, sign up, get an account, get approved the bid, and then watch the thing. And some of them will show you what it's sold for. Now, the only problem with these auctions, and it is dangerous waters. There's some people that mention they don't like dealing with them, and yes. You have to watch what they do. It used to be about, the buyer's premium used to be about 18 to 20, depending on how you sent them the funds, would change that. And now it's up, some of them are 24, even I've seen 28%, which is insane. And what it does, it kind of gives a false thing on there. And how I'll explain to you how it worked. There was an auction house. And this is a Star Model B that was made in the 1940s. Now, a bunch of these came out a few years ago, came into the country, and they sold out fast. I don't think there's a lot of them. Some of them had a Nazi stamp on there, which is fake. And if you buy that $150 book, you can look it right up and see that, you know. This was made sometime in the summer from the serial numbers I found in that book. This one was completed in an order either in the summer or the fall of 1945. So the war was ended when this gun was made. Where it ended up going or where it was, who it was sold to is you know, I don't know. I just wanted one to fit in my collection. Now, when a bunch of these came in, they were going for 4C. I think they started out in the 300s, but then they kind of dried up quick. Then it went up to 4, 4.5, all the way to 5C. People were paying 5C for this gun before they dried up completely. And this is also the one that says caliber .08 on there. And I just wanted an older gun with the markings. So someone could have paid for this. They put it in an auction. It went up, and I was just fooling around. And I figured the way these sold and how popular they were, that this gun, you know, was going to go up there, at least in the 3C or something like that. So I put in a bid, 180, and just left it there. And this is one of these timed auctions, or it doesn't matter, even just a regular auction. I put the pre-bid in, forgot all about it. So I'm sitting there one day and I'm looking, and there's this email. Hey, you won this in the auction. Please contact us and make arrangements to send funds. I'm like, what? What the hell? I forgot all about it. I put that weird little bit in there because I was just going to go back when I'm bored and check and see what it sold for. Well, 180. Now, by the time all was said and done, with the auction fees, shipping and handling, of course, this is what these people do, is they tell you it has to go overnight through the U.S. Post Office. They charge you the shipping for overnight shipping, but they don't send it that way. Okay, that's one rip. And yeah, it was like 20-some%. So in the end, even though I scored this at 180, which was cool, if I paid that in cash, plus maybe the sales tax, that would have been a good buy. But it ended up, by the time, and I had to pay the transfer fee is $20, to $2.9 and some change. I can't remember. It was a little over. It wasn't quite 3 C notes. So it was, but it was a C note. But it's said and done, with the transfer and the shipping, it was a C note over what I bid. But still, I got it for under 3, which to me, when they were going for 4.5, 5, I figured I made out. The person who didn't make out on this is the one who put this in the auction, and if he ended up paying, even 3.5, he only got 180 out of it, so he come out losing. Alright, and as the economy starts getting worse, you're going to see more and more of this come up. Okay, like I said, one auction had 7 9130s in it. Okay, whenever you get that, even if people are actively bidding, they're not going to raise their bids up high because there's so many of them. Just wait another month to the next auction if you don't want to pay that much. Another curious gun I got, again, is I found one of these other Spanish guns. Now these Ruby pistols, okay, and this is an unusual example. It was issued to the French. I got to study the markings. It has the little safety rivet they put on there and the reasons why. But Ruby pistols go for well over 3C. approaching 4, if and when you find them. They're kind of a desirable thing, and if it's in the original condition, not nickel-plated like this, if it's in the original condition from WW1 and that, yeah, that's the going rate on them. Now this is the unusual one with the extended barrel, okay, and the original grips are gone, so they don't have the actual grips. So there's several things in terms of being a collector. Okay, first off, they refinish it, you reduce the price of the gun by 50%. That was an old rule of thumb. Okay. Now, this particular odd gun with the extended barrel goes for a little bit more than the standard Ruby pistol with all the different manufacturers. So, in a way, snagging this, I don't think I got even 2C in this. I got this really, or just over, maybe 2.0 or 3.0 over the 2C. Not bad. I bought it more to study as collector's item. It's an unusual gun. Yeah, the collector's value is harmed by the work done to it, but still, for some things that's going for 3.5 to 4, that's not a bad deal. Okay, and that was before the economy really got crappy. So what I'm trying to tell you guys is that if you beat the bush, and if you pay attention, do your calculations right and everything, granted, a lot of these auction houses, when you buy something, okay, another good example is this here. FR8, okay, going rate 7, 8, when you see them, if not more. Some people told me they've seen these approaching 1K. Well, when you go, using that as a rule of thumb, we'll say 7, because I see when these come up, and these things do come up frequently, for some reason they're a popular gun, and they bring a good chunk of change, okay, and people want them. So, I've seen them in auctions going for 7, 8, okay, and then plus that, so they're going to cost you a K when it's all said and done, if not more. That's why when you see people have these and want to resell them, they want to try to get all their money back, and they're looking for a K, because that's probably what they have tied up in it, all right? I've seen, and these things do pop up. This is one I have in the saved search, and I mean, at least once a month, 1 or 2 of these come up at auction. So they're not that rare. People are trying to dump them because they probably paid hardly anything for them and when they originally came out. That's going back 40 years. I do remember like 10, 15 years ago, these things are going for $5. Okay? So, for whatever reason, this is just one of these unusual guns. But my search still comes up, and I still find these coming up once or twice a month in an auction. And I've noticed they're still desirable because they get up there to around 6. 6 now is where you see people stopping, But still, with the way they charge the extra fees, it's still going to drag that up to maybe around 8 when it's all said and done and you get it. Okay? So, that's what I'm saying. And this is not going to be just all at once. There isn't going to be a dump on the market. So, for whatever reason, the reasons we discussed in the other videos, you are not going to see like hundreds of any of these examples of firearms just pop up out of the blue. That's not going to happen. If you put the effort forward, go through the auctions, and this takes hours and hours of your time. I filter through these things and that, and I find these things. And yes, like somebody said in the comment, luck. I got this at the price I got it, sheer dumb luck. Okay? Kind of the same with this one. This one I think I followed the auction through. And somebody tried outbidding me when I had it real low, and I put one in there. But still, I got it for a decent price. I didn't get crazy. Run it up to 4C. Okay? And this little pistol I have is another example. One of the local places was selling these. These came in. These FEG 32s. I wanted one 32. I had them in the 9mm Mac, and they are a very uncomfortable gun to shoot, but the 32, a little bit nicer. And I think they had a flash sale on these, or a fire sale, and they knocked a C-note off them. So I snagged one. You'll find that also. A lot of prices like AKs are insane. And, they're all over a K, good ones. But you'll see some foreign-made ones that'll drop below that. And a lot of other of your roller-delayed guns and some stuff like that, if you're into that. I had a couple of them. I got the one from Century Arms and Southern Munitions. You'll find that when they don't move, they'll be pretty heavily discounted. That's one way of looking at it. But as far as the surplus, and this ain't going to happen overnight. If you keep following it, and if the economy gets worse, which some people argue it's not, well, you can say that, but 8 months from now, all right, you don't know that. There's so much volatility and so much uncertainty in all factors of life. People are running short of cash. I myself am looking at increased taxes, increased insurance, and health insurance has gone up, and the coverage has gotten worse. They're denying things like a crown or something with the dental insurance. They deny it because they say you didn't need it. And another thing, just because you're doing okay and things ain't unsure for you, a vast majority of people out there, that is not the way things are. And that is why you're seeing these items like this FR8 and all this other stuff, and these guns that have been driven up to high dollar prices start showing up. Now, if you also go to pawn shops or friggin' just regular gun stores, they're going to keep the prices hot because they're not moving nothing. They ain't going to discount it. They need to make some sort of profit to keep their business open. And if you look, instead of being kind of a narrow view of it, it's kind of like the battlefield curator said. He went on his summer drive up through Kentucky, North Carolina, Tennessee, and he said he used to stop in all these little gun shops in there and root around and see if they had. He goes, a lot of them are out of business or closed. It's like here locally, there was a gun shop on every other corner back during the crisis and the plague years. And there were several of them I went into. I used to stop down driving by and go see what they had in there. And they're gone. In that one little town I ride to, there was like 3 retail storefronts that don't exist no more. They're just closed up. So you're seeing a lot of that. And anybody who's staying in business, they're not going to be staying in business long by discounting things. So the process of a lot of this stuff that is sold through estates or whatever, and I know several dealers that I know personally that sell milsurp, and they're the type of person, they walk into the place and they got deep enough pockets, they're buying a whole lot. So this ain't some small timer, some guy that roots around flea markets and stuff and picks it. This is somebody that he's got a business, and it's probably, he told me, I just can't find the stuff. And when he does, people want more for it. People come looking to him, and he built his business over years by selling this stuff. So he buys it, and if he's got to pay more, he's going to charge you more. It's simple as that. The guy has employees, the guy has overhead, fees, everything else, Going to the gun show and getting 10 tables, that isn't like, that's an expense. And then traveling, okay, a lot of these fellas travel pretty good distances, so they got to get a hotel room and all this other stuff. So yeah, trying to find discounts at a gun show ain't gonna happen. Granted, people putting $1,000 price tag on a $350 rifle isn't exactly what I'm talking about. You find that insanity, and actually when people do that, it kind of, like, that's why I kind of don't go to gun shows, when you see nonsense like that. But yeah, you're not going to find mil surplus taking a nosedive. It's the exact opposite. And people do hang on to these things and just don't give them up. But the adjustment, like I said, when I seen in '08, when the economy goes into a recession, you will see things dip. You'll see more stuff come available. People are going to get desperate. And if they're really desperate, shaving a C note here and there or a couple off when you make an offer and you're holding cash money, can make a difference. Alright, sad thing to say, but that's kind of the times we're looking at. That is what I was saying. So if you're thinking I was telling you you're going to walk into one of these places and find, these guns at a extremely reasonable price and a large quantity of them coming in to people who sell surplus, that's not going to happen. That's not what I'm talking about. But if you're smart, and like one guy, it is luck. These couple of these guns, it was luck. I did not go into that auction saying I'm going to get this for this price. It just happened by dumb luck. Okay, and I found other things, again, by dumb luck, going to local auctions. You never know what you find. I found a lot of junk in there that went for way higher than what it was worth. You just got to kind of be savvy and go about it, and you can make out. And the conditions are where you're going to see that. You're going to see prices come down, or you're going to have opportunities that you may not be looking for just pop up in front of you out of the blue. You never know. That's what I was trying to explain in the first video. I do like the fact you guys commented, expressed your opinions and everything else. I just wanted to make a correction on it, kind of give you an idea where my mindset is on that topic. And I hope you give me some more comments, and stay tuned.